Welcome back to Weekend Breakfast with me, David Bull. I'm joined by Dr. Rennie Undercamp once again. So I don't know why I do that. But the doctors are in this morning. Also, lots and lots of messages. We've been talking already about HS2. We've been talking also about the migrant crisis and what the government tries to do about that. Also, I'm asking this morning, what is the point of the Conservative Party? Just because it's a party now of high tax, high regulation, low growth, it seems to have deviated enormously from its core principles. So I'm really keen to know what you think about that as well. 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can tweet us at TalkTV and tweet me at Dr. David Bull. Many of you coming in on this, actually, we said that possibly it's the right thing to do, which is to abandon HS2. We spent £11 billion on it, but actually, in the grand scheme of things, it's better to stop it and then use the money to fill the fiscal hole that we have. This one, Eric Dunn makes a good point. What about the people who lost land and homes because of HS2?
Yes, and I said that, there are lots of competing interests here. And unfortunately, that should never have happened anyway. They should have chosen a different track, which didn't usurp so many people from their homes. But unfortunately, they've lost their homes. Nothing's going to change that, whether HS2 goes ahead or not.
No, indeed. So they need compensating for that.
They do,
of course. This one says, from Global Network, another gusty start.
It was gusty.
It was a gusty.
I got cross about Matt.
You did. Yes, a gusty start to a Sunday morning with David Bull and Dr. Undercamp. Two presenters delivering common sense dialogue, a breath of fresh air as the UK stumbles from one crisis to the next. When will our government and Rishi Sunak start delivering for the British people? That is a very good question. Indeed, I said we're also going to be talking about breast cancer later and immunotherapy. Ed endorsed it. I apologise, I said the word women. Of course, men can get breast cancer. We'll talk about that a little later on as well. That was a bit of a slip of the tongue. It wasn't because I didn't know it. And then Mr. Stephen Durham. So I said, what is the point of the Tory party? I was wondering how people would respond to that. Mr. Stephen Durham says, hi doctors, there is no point to the Tory party. None at all. It's not a Tory party. It's a recruiting ground for the WEF and the EU. By the way, we don't need a 10-point migration plan. We just need one, which is turn the boats back and keep speaking for the public, because no other channel does. Thank you very much indeed for that message. Keep all your messages coming in, please. Time for the papers now, and we're joined this morning by Russell Quirk, political commentator. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well.
You have terrible handwriting.
It's doctor appropriate, I thought.
Well, hang on. Literally, so I have a piece of paper here which is meant to have the stories on it. I need this deciphered.
Okay, do you want me to translate?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's start. I think it says Albanian Poppy Day insult in the Mail.
Yes.
That's the clearest one, I think.
This is the clearest one. And we're used to reading doctors writing.
Yes, this is the front page of the Mail on Sunday. Yes, the headline is Albania's Poppy Day insult to Churchill. So this was a protest yesterday in central London by Albanian nationals who are protesting because they feel that they are being unfairly singled out as, inverted commas, criminals by the media and by the commentariat, and they think that's desperately unfair. The problem is what they elected to do was, as part of their protest, was to drape Sir Winston Churchill's statue in the Albanian flag. I think they might have miscalculated the fuel that there might be amongst some of us, that might be seen as somewhat inappropriate.
I thought it was really distasteful.
So I agree with you. I think it's completely distasteful. But as a supporter of free speech, I defend their right to do it. I think I would have been, I know I would have been outraged had they defaced Churchill's statue. That would have been completely unacceptable.
But, which has been done, of course, in the
which
past.
has been done. So actually, I absolutely defend their right to do it, as I wanted my rights defended when I went on marches against lockdown. I think
no one's seeking to criminalise them to stop them doing it. I think they have the right to protest. We also have the right to rail against them.
But your point is really valid, which is what does it do for public opinion?
I think it ruins it.
So do I.
Yes.
And I think they literally are shooting themselves in the foot.
Look, they obviously have a point. Are Albanians criminals? Of course not. Everybody knows that. That's got half a brain. But the problem is we do have this problem whereby about a third of all of those coming across the channel unnecessarily as illegal immigrants, fake asylum seekers, because many of them, not all, but many of them are. We know that's a problem. And of course, we've now got this debate going on in parallel to this yesterday, with us now apparently seeking to give loads more money to France, a bit like we did a few years ago, to try and stop this influx. Yesterday, the sum total of that, by the way, was the French police managing to deflate two dinghies. So we've got hundreds of people coming over every day, 600 yesterday. 600 yesterday came over anyway, 40,000 year to date. And the solution apparently is to give President Macron more money to do
60
nothing.
million.
Shall I suggest what the solution is?
Yes.
And I cannot believe that this has not been muted by any politician or by anyone in the media yet. Would you believe, and I kid you not, this is true, on the Home Office website today, yesterday, last year, and many years previously, there is almost an advertisement to illegal migrants to come to this country on the basis of what they get if they come to this country.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. It is on there. I checked yesterday. So this is it. If you come to this country, even if you don't yet get your asylum granted, you will receive, I'll qualify that, may receive, but they do receive. Ready for this?
Yeah.
£40 a week in cash, free accommodation, free education, free healthcare, free dentistry, and if you're pregnant, free maternity.
Why is this actually detailed?
Can I just suggest, turn that website off?
Which website is this?
This is the Home Office website. This is a government website saying if you come to this country, this is what you get. No wonder all of these migrants are coming through Europe from places like Albania and, of course, Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on, to this country and are not staying in France, Italy, and Germany. Because we're advertising the fact that we're welcoming them with financial open hands.
And they know, and the reason they're coming here is they know we're a soft touch. They know also, and I've read many testimonials saying that they know that the conditions in the United Kingdom are very good and you get great handouts.
So, Suella Braverman, my tip, and this is going to be really easy, overnight, get your coders, your IT people at the Home Office just to delete that page, change the policy, and therefore we will no longer attract freeloaders to this country.
They'll need Pricewaterhouse to consult on that.
Well, and millions of pounds, and no doubt, the likes of Jolly and whatever his name is will, sue the government for doing such a thing. I mean, but look, the answer's easy, isn't it?
Yeah. The answer, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think the people who protested yesterday and Drake Churchill's statue, however, will have done themselves any favour, and I don't think people are waking up this morning who felt badly about the Albanian migrant crisis are now going, oh, actually, it's all right.
No,
so I don't think
quite
they've achieved it. I don't think they've achieved what they wanted to do.
Well, and if you live in a town or a village on the southern coast of Britain right now, many of those occupants, many of those residents are saying that they're living amongst carnage.
Yeah.
There are kind of asylum seekers, living on the streets, wandering around, causing all sorts of trouble, people breaking into homes. Now, look, I'm not saying all Albanians, I'm not saying all immigrants, all asylum seekers are Albanian.
No.
I'm also not saying all Albanians do such things, but we do have a problem, and I think just by talking about it and not actually taking action, I'm afraid this stuff just becomes.
But you see, you're right. So the Home Office is saying that actually what they're going to do is they're going to change the law so that actually if you're Albanian you can't claim asylum. That would wipe out 12,000 at least of the 40,000.
Yes, but that will be challenged because the problem, and you well know this in your other role, is that we are still beholden to the European Court of Human Rights.
I know we are.
So of course, when it comes to the Rwanda policy, when it comes to saying, hey, we're not going to allow Albanians to seek asylum, and why should they? They're not, as you said earlier, they're not in a war-torn country. That will be challenged. Lots of taxpayer money will be expended fighting that, and probably 3 years down the line, there will be a verdict that perhaps isn't favourable. We've got to move away from the European Court and the Convention of Human Rights. A Bill of Rights, which I know has been muted again by Dominic Raab, does not mean, by the way, that we don't then recognise the rights of people in this country. It just means that we have control over the laws that relate to
But it's problematic for the Northern Ireland Agreement.
Well, that is the point. And you see, so again, it's really complicated, this. And in terms of, and you're absolutely right, they have said that essentially the ECHR is a sort of golden stone or a cornerstone of the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill. But again, we need to be brave enough to say it's not working for people in Northern Ireland. We've annexed Northern Ireland. This is the United Kingdom. And we've got to stop bowing down to the European Union.
I agree completely, but no one's brave enough now.
We voted collectively to leave.
To take back control of our money, laws and borders. I was there. I voted. I actually put my card in the thing and pressed go.
What, and you'd like that to mean something, wouldn't
you? I would really. Because you see, I'm sick and tired of everyone saying, well, it's Brexit. The reason that we're in this mess is Brexit. Well, it's not Brexit. It's because also it's poorly delivered Brexit. We haven't Brexited.
Indeed.
We've got a partial Brexit.
Well, we certainly haven't Brexited until we untie those shackles from the European Court of Human Rights.
But you see, I think this is one of the biggest electoral issues, and I think the government has suddenly worked out that it is. Right, shall we move on now to energy bills? I mean, it is extraordinary. I've just looked at mine. It's horrific.
It is horrific.
Yes, but there should be a silver lining to this. So Jeremy Hunt is now saying, in the lead up to this autumn statement, and of course, by the way, when did we ever start leaking the entire contents of the budget, the autumn statement?
In the last
a week
2 years.
Before? Well, yeah, but surely it should be revealed at the dispatch.
Of course it should.
If I was a cynic, I'd be perhaps suggesting, managing expectations, but also trialling certain things that might be unpopular so that he doesn't include them in the speech, rather than having yet another government U-turn.
So do you think that this is about not only expectation management, but saying it will be this bad, and then when he delivers it, it won't be as bad?
Andrew Neil wrote a really good piece in the Mail yesterday saying that do not believe everything that is being leaked here. You're being tested. However, I was on a panel with Andrew Neil last week, and I did say to him, the well-off, inverted commas, and when I say the well-off, that's defined here, in the papers are talking about this today, by way of the 45p tax rate threshold, and those that earn it, defined by people that earn over £150,000 a year. What is being trialled, what's being muted, is that Jeremy Hunt is going to reduce the threshold. So instead of being blatant,
to
£125,000. So that will pull about 250,000, what I would say, medium earners, they're not millionaires, they're medium earners, into paying the high rate of tax.
I know, I agree.
This is not conservative.
Well, that's the point, which goes back to the question, what is the point of the Conservative Party? They have forgotten. They need to look at the label on the tin. And they haven't done that.
If we closed our eyes and we thought back to the days of Blair, let's say the late 1990s, you could take Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt, put them in Blair's cabinet, and you wouldn't know any difference.
No, you wouldn't. And in fact, what we're seeing is the two parties merging. I really don't see any difference between Labour and the Conservative Party currently.
I don't. Until maybe when Labour gets into power, and then maybe the differences will become apparent, but I don't see any difference at the moment, and I think that's the scary thing. We need another party or two.
Well, I was going to say, no, I don't want to blow smoke, David, but no wonder the Reform Party is polling at about, 8-9%? 11 now. 11% as the alternative, as the true Conservative.
But I mean, I have to be slightly careful, but it depends. So it was at 8 and 9, I think one of them shows 11, but thereabouts. But the point is, those are only valid for those polls and those sample sizes.
Yes.
And also there is a lot of shift going on, and it's really interesting in terms of who's moving. And many people think it's just the Conservatives that are moving. It's not. So we're seeing enormous sort of churn, really, across the...
Well, we're now seeing Starmer. Starmer's in the Daily Express today, having written a piece saying, and I quote, "Brexit is safe in my hands."
I saw that.
The funniest thing I've ever read in the papers.
He has to say that, doesn't
he? Has to say it, of course he does. But what an about turn. So we've got the Labour Party appealing to the right, almost, because that's where they need to grab votes from. We've got Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt acting like socialists. It's the most odd, bizarre situation.
It really is. So just in terms of energy bills, what was that about?
Sorry, yes, this is Jeremy Hunt saying...
Just trying to keep you on track.
Jeremy Hunt putting more money away from us and putting more money into the Exchequer by saying that the support, he's going to confirm basically that the long-term support for householders in terms of the energy cap is going to diminish. The past April there won't be any. But the point that I would make, though, about energy prices is that although you're right, energy prices are very, very high now, obviously there's a lag between what we are charged as consumers and what the wholesale price are. Do you know what the wholesale price of gas is right now? It's 25% of what it was in August. It has dropped 75%. So the energy companies, therefore, and electricity, because obviously gas, a lot of electricity is produced from gas, the electricity companies and gas companies must reflect that drop in the consumer price. Well, they must. If not, I think the CMA, the Competition and Market Authority, should get involved, investigate them, prosecute them and fine them, because if they are using this crisis as an excuse to fleece the consumer, then they should be prosecuted.
Yeah, well, the irony is, of course, the price of renewables is also pegged to gas. That's another ridiculous point. I just don't understand that either.
Yeah.
But I did read something yesterday as well, with some of the renewables, the electricity generation from turbines, etc., those prices are being kept...
Of course, artificially high.
But not just because they're pegged to the gas, but because there's contracts that have been signed with sweeteners in it for the people to set it up that allows them to make massive profits.
But do you know how well the sustainable thing's going? This week, a company that produces solar energy went bust, and not only did it go bust,
not enough sunshine.
They owe £650 million to Thurrock Council that lent them the money.
And who's going to pay for that?
So the taxpayer. So the taxpayer ultimately now is in the hole to the tune of 650 million quid because of a failed sustainability company.
So very quickly, so just in terms of, we think that energy bills will come down then, is what you're saying?
I'm saying they have to. I mean, whether they're forced to or whether through free market. Which
it's ridiculous. They're hundreds of pounds.
But regardless, Jeremy Hunt now is saying that, look, whether they do or not, he's not going to continue subsidising this, and nor should he really, from a government perspective. So it's going to cost the consumer, the taxpayer, more money.
Although he's quite safe, isn't he, doing that from April, because we're moving into spring.
Yes,
it'll
and
be
therefore
warmer.
people won't
Yeah,
need
we
it.
need
should
it
be,
now.
my point
Although
is,
April is not a warm month.
but it should be a
global
moot
warming.
point, because those prices should fall in line with wholesale prices.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Right, let's talk about mortgages now, because many people obviously being priced out of the mortgage market. I remember when mortgage levels were much higher than this.
Yes, so here's another entity that is in danger of taking advantage of the public right now. So we've got mortgage rates that obviously have spiked, so particularly the cost of fixed rates. We've seen that the Bank of England, of course, have just increased their base rate from 2.25% to 3%. Lots of people in my industry, the property industry, say, look, we're going to end up with these ridiculously high mortgage rates forever. That's simply not true. So what we have seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks is that because gilt yields, that's basically the return on government debt, swap rates and so on, have reduced significantly over the last 3 or 4 weeks, fixed rate mortgages are already reducing. And so there's a big story today in the Telegraph, page 2, saying that the best 5-year fixed rate now is back below 5%. I think over the next few months it will come down even lower.
So don't fix now.
Don't fix now, absolutely not. So wait a few weeks. But also it averts this ridiculous hyperbole that we're hearing from many experts in the property sector about a house price crash next year. That simply is not going to happen.
Everything you've said then, if you're saying that actually mortgages are coming down, we're seeing the cost of energy coming down, therefore inflation comes down.
And therefore there's less pressure on interest rates. So next year, I think economically, I think Q1 will be very difficult. And I'm no economist, right? But I think we dodge an economic bullet. This recession that everybody's talking about, we've got to start...
We're only technically in it.
Well, we're not even in it yet, because there's 2 quarters. We've had 1 quarter of reduction of shrinkage, but we haven't had 2 because we're not at the end of Q4 yet. Lots of left-wing commentators saying, oh, look, told you so, we're in recession. Well, most of them don't even know what a recession is. But actually, 0.2% GDP quarterly shrinkage, you're not going to notice it as an individual. No. It doesn't mean automatically 8 million people unemployed, for instance. So we've got to calm down.
So for me, the most important thing is, what does it do to the cost of food? That is where people are really hurting.
Yes, and actually, look, if energy prices, fuel prices continue to reduce,
then food should come down.
Food costs will
come down. Does it ever come down?
Well, it should do, but again, that's a question. Look, I'm a massive free market advocate, but sometimes I'm afraid you have to have the authority step in and say, hey guys, you're being a bit naughty here because your margin now is 4 times what it was before the crisis.
I agree.
Food companies, lenders, energy companies, we need to keep an eye on them to make sure they're not fleecing us.
Do indeed. Right, Rishi apparently is now Margaret Thatcher.
No, he is not.
Well, I know that. No, I did know that.
No, I know
For many reasons.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
So what's this about? Rishi revised Thatcherism.
So in the Express, the headline is that, yes, Rishi Sunak has obviously said to a journalist, look, I'm going to revive the spectre of Thatcher and Thatcherism from the late 70s, early 80s in order to kind of get us out of this hole. Now, it's a lovely line. If you can convince the Conservative Party you're the next Thatcher, well then great, you might just save oblivion at the next election. But it's simply not true. Yes, when Thatcher came in the late 70s and she was handed this disgusting mess that the Labour Party had put us into yet again, she, of course, had to do certain things to try and put some money back into the exchequer. But, of course, she also reduced the basic rate of income tax almost immediately. She put police on the streets immediately.
Which is what we're calling for.
And she also reduced the top rate of tax immediately.
So,
Rishi Sunak is doing the opposite of those things.
And somebody said to me on Twitter the other day, well, you know that tax rates were 60% under Margaret Thatcher. That's because when she came in, they were 83.
95, that's at one point.
And she slowly reduced them.
And she was also responsible for things like, Big Bang and deregulation and allowing the privatisation of utility companies. Look, to me, she was the mother of entrepreneurialism. Rishi Sunak is definitely not the father of anything apart from left-wing economic politics.
Also, I said this the other day, he's a bean counter. He's not a great showman. I don't think he has the vision.
He's a banker.
Yeah, he's a banker. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the leadership skills. I mean, whether you like Thatcher or not, she had leadership skills and she knew where she was going and she knew her own mind.
But he's got no political principles. He's pandering to the markets because everyone seems to be really scared now of these red-braced bond traders that seem to have got the country by the scruff of the neck, frankly. I think that we need to kind of stand up for actually what we thought this country was and what we believed in. And again, back to the Conservative point where, I don't think we've seen a Conservative in government for about the last 5 or 6 years.
No, I'd agree with that. So just in terms of time is pressing, so the Mail, you mentioned obviously Hunt there. Do you want to do any more on that, or should we move on?
No, we can move on to some silly stuff.
Let's do that.
Stuff that will really annoy you.
Come on then.
Ready?
You're not going to say his name again, are you?
Who?
Matt.
No, I wasn't going to talk about Hancock. No, but I am enjoying I'm a
I can't actually read this.
And did you know, on the app, I have the first time ever downloaded the I'm a Celebrity app, and my kids
You have too much
think
time.
it's
No,
hilarious.
give
Last
me your
night.
phone. I'm going to take it
You can
off.
vote for Matt Hancock 5 times.
Can you?
Yeah,
Stop.
it's brilliant. So we do.
Oh, I do like this story, and I can read his writing.
We talked about the prisoner sues Home Office. So, talking of the European Court of Human Rights, there's a prisoner, a British prisoner, in jail right now who thinks that the Home Office are out to get him on the basis that he has arachnophobia, so he has a fear of spiders. And he says that a spider or spiders keep appearing in his cell. So his natural solution to that is to sue the government. To sue the government, sue the Home Office. Luckily, though, it has been kicked out.
Good.
But this is how ridiculous this country's become. Where we, and can you imagine the time,
you're
effort,
in
and money?
prison.
The time, effort, and money that's gone into this already.
This puts me in mind of a real dilemma I had in our house in the week, where a spider obviously gave birth in our bathroom.
Right.
And we had hundreds of tiny little spiders everywhere. Now, I never kill an insect or a spider. So Alice and I were just standing looking at them, and she was going, oh, so cute. And I was thinking, what can I do about these spiders?
Well, I think you should take legal advice. You should take legal advice immediately.
They're tiny.
I'm sure there's somebody who can probably sue via Europe. So so that's the Sun, page 8, just as a bit of kind of light-hearted
Very good.
relief and so on. And then the solution to our sustainability and fossil fuel problem, which is the Sun, again, page 9. A company called PaveGen, believe this or not, this is true, in Telford, Shropshire, have actually installed pavements that when people walk on them, the footsteps generate electricity.
I quite like this.
I love it.
Yes.
What a great solution.
Of course,
Let's just do
kinetic
that.
energy.
Let's just do that. Yeah. Kinetic, and it's like kinetic dance floors.
Yeah, it's
You're probably
kinetic
more
energy.
familiar with
And
those than I am.
maybe-
I suspect.
Well, when I throw shapes, yes.
Maybe it will make people walk
Walk.
more.
Yes.
Brilliant. So we have a public health problem.
I think we've solved everyone's
So do I.
problems this morning.
How much electricity does it generate, though?
Oh, it's something about a couple of
very
kilowatts
much.
per
Yeah, I don't
week,
think it's
probably.
very much.
It's not much, but it all helps, doesn't it?
It all helps, exactly right. Well done, sir. Thank you very much indeed, Russell. That's Russell Quirk, political commentator. After the break, we'll be taking your calls, your thoughts, and your questions. Many of those coming in. Lots of you saying you're loving this morning's show, so thank you very much indeed. This is TalkTV broadcasting live from the Talk Radio studios.